With more than 30 million UK people in employment, Tony Roy, President of CareerBuilder in Europe, joined me to speak about the skills gap, youth unemployment and STEM subjects. Thanks for coming in, Tony.
Yep.
So we've got record number of people in work in the UK now. I just wondered what are some of the trends that you've noticed on your site.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. It's always nice to talk about it. It's such an important topic for not just us, but everybody in the country and on the continent. For us, the encouraging signs is that activity, not just in the UK, but across Europe, has really picked up, and that's exciting to see. So we have people that are advertising at a more consistent and at a faster pace than they have in the last couple of years. I think when you look in the UK, there's several areas that we really see even accelerated growth for us. And on the course side, on CareerBuilder, you have not only the technology jobs and things related to that, but two verticals, healthcare and the energy sector, are two areas that are really taking off. And I think you see that because the demand is increasing here, but also globally. And because the UK has historically had a lot of skilled labor in those industries, you see more and more people looking here, which goes back to why we really have to make sure we're educating the young people and preparing them to step into those jobs in the future. But it's exciting overall. That's an exciting thing for us.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And touching on that point that you've just briefly mentioned about the skills gap that everyone keeps talking about, how big of an issue is that in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think it's a big issue. I think what you have today, if you look at the UK as the example, you've got a lot of people today that have skills that are applicable to jobs that people can't fill. The key thing is, how do we connect those people? How do we have somebody today that's been stuck in a part-time position but has the skills that apply to these three other sectors where they can go have full-time employment? When you look at the skills gap, there's really, I would say, there's a three-pronged approach, right? I think the first thing is companies have to continue to do a better job of investing in training and development of their existing staff. A lot of times we have great people in our, that we work alongside every day. And we just need to continue to help round out their skill sets so they can continue to take on jobs in other departments within the business or potentially move up and create another job to backfill that position. So I think the second thing is we have to look at academia, right? How do we help the over 500 colleges and universities in the UK? How can we help them use big data so that they are developing a curriculum that addresses where the job creation is going to happen? I think what you have today is you've got a lot of colleges and institutions that have a curriculum that maybe has been around for several years. Well, the world is changing, and today what we have to do is go help colleges and universities understand what does the job creation trend in the next 24 months look like in the demographic area that they're servicing. We can not just educate young people, but we can educate them and give them the skills that translate into job creation so they can step right into the job market instead of graduating and not having the job that meets what they just educated themselves on. So I think that's the second key component of it. I think the third thing is you have to continue to have government involvement. We have to ensure that education is affordable for a lot of people, everyone, if possible. We have to make sure that there's still emphasis on certain programs. I think you hear a lot about the term STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. I think that's an area that we have to continue to educate people on, because those are the jobs that are really going to provide a lot of opportunities in the future. And I think that also tips in a little bit to the gender issue, right? I think one thing that is front of mind for a lot of people today is how do we continue to provide more opportunities for women in the workforce? And I think one area is if we can continue to focus at the educational level on that STEM area, then I think we're going to see more and more of that as we progress. Obviously, women in the boardroom is an important topic for everybody. And so I go back to the education that's one area that we can start progressing that.
Young people, obviously you've talked about education, STEM subjects, but what can government or employers maybe do to help the more than 900,000 young people out of work in the UK today?
Right, you have this tremendous opportunity in young people today that are just dying to give back to business and to education and whatnot. I think it's I don't have all the answers, unfortunately, but I think the thing I go back to young people is companies like ourselves, companies like CareerBuilder that provide opportunities to match job seekers and employers. We have to make sure that we are using data in a way that's easy for people to access, easy for them to understand. When a job seeker, let's say a young person graduating from uni, when they go to apply for a position, a lot of times in the internet, you don't hear back. It goes into this black hole. Well, that's not good, right? What we do have to do is give them information that says the jobs you applied for, 20 other people applied for. On average, these people are a lot more educated than you. They have 4 more years of experience on average, or they have this accreditation or so forth. So in one way, companies like CareerBuilder can provide data to the job seeker to help them be smarter in how they search for opportunities. So instead of looking at just one area and one job function, we're able to give them data that says, well, hey, did you realize these other 3 sectors have a very similar skill set that's needed? Your experience matches up really well with this area that you may not have considered. So I think that's one thing we have to do. I think the other thing is we have to help educate, the employer side, right? How do we get the employers to understand that in the energy sector, sometimes you can recruit people who've been associated with dairy farming, because in some aspects of that, there are similar machinery that you can apply to some of the rig positions in energy. MZ, Economic Modeling Specialist, that's one of the things we do is we go into consult companies. We give them a tool that helps them understand that people in these job functions, in these categories, in these sectors, they have very similar skills to people over here. So what we've done for the recruitment, for what we've done for the company, is we've now said, well, here was your recruitment net before, here's your recruitment net now. So for companies, what that does is it optimizes their reach, hopefully helps them connect with people that they just can't find today.
And on that point of big data and employers looking for certain employees, are more employers, in your opinion, looking for more people for temporary work, or is it long-term employment?
Well, I think you're seeing both increase, right? I mean, when you talk about the area of temporary, I think we mentioned a story recently about up in Yorkshire where there's, I believe it was Siemens, I could be off, but they're opening basically a wind farm, wind energy, but they just don't have all the skilled labor within the region to execute on the project. What you are seeing is that they are hiring more temporary workers in place so we can get them trained up and hopefully bring them over to full-time employment. So I think you're seeing it in both areas, but yes, there is a trend in some areas where we sort of lack some of the skills. We're bringing people in at the temporary level, at least we're creating some type of employment, hopefully educating them, developing them to take over into a full-time position.
Great. Well, thanks very much for your time today.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Great.